we can resume and then try and then wrap up with today's session. But before we go on, do we have any question to ask? Is there any question? All right. So if there is no question, let's jump right into it. Now we've been able to explain some basics regarding data sets, data lists, data matrices. Now, these are not seen on the objective domain because they are assumed that the Excel specialist actually has a grip on some of these basics. Now, one of the areas that are being tested under the associate level has to do with managing tables. So if you look at the objective domain, if you look at the third section, which is manage tables and table data, this is so fundamental that a whole section has been dedicated to it. Now, there are so many advantages when it comes to using tables rather than using data lists. And I'm going to use this section to highlight some of them so that you can understand them better. Now, we've been able to import the data into Excel from a text file. Okay, and we need to ensure that we have actually gotten it ready for analytics. Now, before we move on, I want to quickly chip in this aspect of the objective domain. That's objective domain number 33. So objective domain number 33 requires that you format multiple worksheets by grouping. So this one, you format multiple worksheets by grouping. I want to quickly touch on that and then demonstrate what that means. Now, anytime you are about to start a project to manage data, anytime you're about to start a project to manage data, you need to set up your spreadsheet file or your workbook like a template and make it ready for analytics. If you remember the budget that we created in this particular instance, we had a framework. Okay, we had a template that we actually designed, which was useful for our forecasting. And you could see that the model pivots a lot of the data. So the data that we have here is pivoted. Okay, and we'll look at how we can pivot the data later on, or clean this one up to ensure that we have an entire data list in place. But one application is just to make your spreadsheets ready for modeling or forecasting or budgeting. Another application is for analytics. So I'm going to create, in this instance, I created the data like a tracker. Okay, so for small startups or small businesses, maybe if you have a small business and you want to set up an accounting system in Excel to be tracking, it can just do that. Excel is very powerful for creating a computerized accounting system. I have been doing this for some clients of mine. because they don't have the money, or they don't have what it takes to get an ERP or an RDBMS. So we can use this to set up like a whole software or a whole system to track information. So we create something more like a tracker. But what I'm going to demonstrate now is in the realm of analytics. Okay, if we want to do proper analytics, then we have moved from the realm of tracking data, okay, like a database, to actually importing data and making use of it. So let's try to understand the third application that I'm talking about. The first one is budgeting and forecasting. And you see that the data is pivoted. But the second has to do with tracking data from scratch, like building a system, building a journal, like building an accounting system from scratch. Now, this third application that we are going to talk about has to do with analytics. So making your spreadsheet ready for analytics. So I'm going to create another file here. And then I'm going to call this sales analytics and dashboard, AIL 018. So at least you can see that we have 3 applications of our spreadsheet. So let me name this one number 1. Let me name this one number 2. And let's name this one too as number 3. All right. So let's open this one up. Okay. Now that we've opened this one up, we want to use our spreadsheet for analytics. So anytime we are doing that, there are 3 basic phases in our analytics, our data analytics journey. 3 phases. The first phase has to do with getting the data. The second phase has to do with analyzing the data. And then the third phase has to do with visualizing the data. So I'm going to add another sheet. Added 2 sheets, sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. So this is what I'm referring to. So you get the data, you analyze the data, and then you visualize the data. So this is what BI, business intelligence or analytics, is all about. Get data, analyze data, and visualize data. For the purposes of this project, sales analytics project, we are going to rename this one as data to represent our data layer, analytics, and then dashboard. I'm going to color code this one. So I'm going to color code this one red, orange, and then green. So I have color coded them so that they can stand out when they are being selected. So I have a data layer, an analytics layer, and then a dashboard layer. Now, if you look at objective domain number 33, it says that format multiple worksheets by grouping. So you can save yourself a lot of time by grouping the sheets and then formatting just one of the sheets. And you see that whatever you do on one gets replicated. So this is what I'm saying. I've selected the data sheet. And then I am entering sales analytics. Now note that this sales analytics that I have entered here, when I go to the analytics sheet, it's not here. When I go to the dashboard sheet, it's also not here. But look at what happens when I group the sheets. How do you group the sheets? All you need to do is to right-click the sheet and then choose Select All. Now, when you choose Select All, you see that when you come to your title bar, it tells you that the sheets have been grouped. So you see group here. If you want to ungroup, you can right click and then ungroup the sheets. Again, right click and then select all sheets to group. You right click and then you ungroup, or you can select any particular sheet in there and then it's ungrouped. You can group two sheets at the same time. So you select the first sheet, hold the control key, and then you select another sheet. And then the two sheets are grouped. If you want to ungroup, you can select the analytics sheet, or alternatively, you can right click and then you can ungroup them. So you can right click and choose ungroup sheets and then they get ungrouped. Now, what is the benefits or the efficiency that we get or the value that we get when we group sheets? When you group a sheet, you can format your spreadsheet consistently and everything gets done without any differences. So when I group these sheets, okay, you can see that it's grouped. I can change the font type to Arial, change it to 10 points, and then let me begin to enter text here. So I'm going to say sales analytics, and dashboard. And then what happens is that when I go to each of the sheets, whatever I entered and the kind of formatting that I did has been consistently applied. So that's the power of grouping sheets. In fact, I was very, very amazed by learning this 10 years ago. I learned how to group sheets 10 years ago in Excel. Okay, so this is a very good tool and it's being tested on the MOS exam. So you need to know how to group sheets and ungroup them. Okay, so I'm going to select all the sheets again, and then I'll hit select this and then delete it. And then you see that every other thing on the sheets are deleted. We use this to consistently create templates. So if you want to create a template and then you ensure that you have consistent structure across all of them, you can do just that. And everything will be formatted that way. So in the analytics that we're going to do, we have created our data layer, analytics layer, and the dashboard layer. And then what we are going to do right now is to bring in the data from the text file here. And we saw how we did it. We went to the data tab. We went to get data from file, and then we pick text, pick the monthly sales 2024. And then the data navigator indicated that it is tab delimited. And then we are going to choose load to. You need to know this because it's being tested on the exam. You need to identify where the load to is. And then you choose the specific area or cell that you want the edge of the data set to start from. And it's going to be a table. So we choose OK. So this is how simple, this is how easy to create a table or like import data and then it turns into a table. Now, anytime you have a table, you need to understand that a table is an object. The table is an object and it has more functionalities than a mere data list. So I'm going to demonstrate that to you for you to see right now. All right. So the first thing is that I am going to copy. So I'm going to select a cell in here and then press Ctrl A to select it. And then I'm going to paste it here. Now, what I have done here is I've just duplicated the two. Now, I'm going to use this to explain a few things that are being tested on the exam, okay? Now, if you go to objective domain number 41, objective domain number 41 says that you should be able to convert tables to cell ranges. Okay, you should be able to convert tables to cell ranges. So this is a table, this is a table. I'm going to convert this one to a cell range, meaning I'm going to remove the table object so that it can stand on its own as a list. Anytime you have a range, then we are referring to your data list without a table object. So I want to explore and explain certain subtle differences between the two so that you can understand. So I am going to the table design, going to tools, and then I'll click on convert to range. So it says that convert this table into a normal range of cells and all the data is preserved. And that is what we are referring to as a data list. It says that this will permanently remove the query definition from the sheet and convert the table to a normal range. So we choose OK. So that is how to convert data, a table to a normal range. Now look at something. You see that we have two data sets here, the same thing. When I select this area, I don't see my contextual tab here because we don't have the table object. But immediately I select the table, I am going to see a contextual tab appearing, which is the table design. Okay, this is the table design. And it appears only when we have a table object. So we have the properties group, tools group, external table data group, table style options group, and table styles group. And within them, they have individual commands. Now, we want to see some of the advantages of having a table. Okay, the table feature is so powerful than having a mere list. Now, in order to avoid any confusion, let's use the opportunity to also apply another objective domain. So if you look at objective domain number 32, it says that clear cell formatting. Clear cell formatting. So I want to clear all cell formatting from the data range. So I'm going to select it and then go to the Home tab, go to the Editing group, and then click this drop down where you have the eraser. You can clear hyperlinks, clear content, clear formats, clear all. We want to clear formats so that you understand that we have what we call a data list or a range. Now, what are the advantages and what are the, let's say, what are the differences or what are the similarities between them? So let's talk about some of the similarities between a data list and a data table, or let's say a table in Excel. Now, one of the points of similarities has to do with the fact that they are all organized into a tabular structure. We have fields. The fields always, the first row contains the field names. The first column will typically contain the unique identifiers or IDs. On each row, we have the records. Each column has the rows. Each column has the variables or the fields or the characteristics. And then the intersection of the field and the record gives you what we call data or datum or score, as we have it here. Whatever we have explained here, we have that same structure here. Okay, we have that same structure here. So that's a point of similarity. Now, the second thing is that you can expand this range by adding more records. Okay, so you can add another record here, 193, indicates the month, indicates the day, indicate the brand, indicate the product type, the unit sales, like everything can be done to expand it. Okay, you can add a new column to it to the right. Okay, you can add a discount column here and a net total column here. So another point of similarity is that we can add more rows, we can add more columns to a data list and at the same time a table. Okay, whatever we have done here, we can do the same thing to the table. We can also sort and we can also filter a table and a list. So if you want to sort by the ID field, you can just select this cell, right click, and then you sort from largest to smallest. Okay, I can do the same thing, select this field, right click, and then also sort from largest to smallest. So these are all points of similarity. Now let's talk about some important differences between a list and an Excel table. Now, one of the key things that you have with a table is that the table is very dynamic and you can easily expand it. And when you expand it, it reflects in any objects that are connected to it. So you can connect a chart easily to a table or a pivot table easily to a table. And anytime you add more data or you add more columns to restructure it, it becomes so easy to refresh. All you need to do is to refresh and then everything gets in there. So this is what I'm referring to. When I type in discounts here, you see that automatically the table expands. If I begin to insert another record here, automatically the table expands. Now watch what happens when I connect this to a chart. Okay, watch what happens when I connect this to a chart. So I am going to the insert tab, going to the charts group and then selecting recommended charts. So let's say that I have chosen this recommended chart. Now, given this recommended chart that I have here, Okay. Anytime I add another record here, okay, I don't want to use insert a pivot table. I just want to select a particular, just two fields. So select this and then also select the brand here. And then I go to recommended charts. Okay, let me choose a line chart. It's going to be, okay, let's use the recommended charts. Now, watch what happens when I connect this to the table. So note that, as I indicated, there are two objects that have been connected to the table. The first one is a pivot table. In the Excel expert, you are being required to understand pivot tables. And then this chart is also connected to the pivot table through, it's connected to the table through the pivot table, right? Now, what we want to explore right now is that when I expand this here to 193, you will see that automatically the chart here, let me put 1 million somewhere here. So let's keep the 1.5 liter. And then let me just put 1 million here, just for you to see the impact. Because I've connected it to a pivot table, when I refresh it, you see that automatically that 1 million gets reflected here in a very seamless way, in a very easy way. Okay, you can connect the entire field here. Let me pick the entire field here and then create a line chart out of it. Let me create this line chart. Okay. So this line chart that I have created. Now, look at what happens when I add in here, let's say I add another row, 194, and then I put even 200 million. By entering this into my data, you see that automatically that is also reflected here. Okay, so instantaneously, when you add information or when you add data, you see that it would expand in real time. And that is one of the advantages of using the table feature. I'm going to drag it down there a bit so that when I take it out, you see it in real time. Okay. So when I take this 2 million out and I take this 1 million out, you see that automatically they reflect in the charts that I have created in real time. This is the advantage of using the table feature. Automatically they reflect in there. And in the business field now, we want to see data in real time and analytics in real time. Okay, so that's one of the one of the powers that we want to leverage on when using a table. But let's see how this compares to having a data list or a range. Okay, so when I select this and then I create a line chart. Now, when I add another record, 193, and then I put 1 million here, you see that it doesn't get automatically reflected in my chart unless I drag it. So it adds another level of work and inefficiency by always having to be dragging fields that or records that are being added, either from the column side or from the row side. So we want to use tables because they are very, very dynamic. Now, another thing, another advantage that you're going to have with the table feature is that the contextual tab makes it very easy for you to format your table very easily. Okay, look at the table styles. You need to know their names. This is white table style medium 1, and it's very required on the exam for you to know the name. So I can change the format of my table in no time. And it's you don't have this with a data list. Okay, I can right click and then I can also delete the table rows, and then automatically it will reflect in whatever object has been connected to it, whether chart or pivot table. Now, the contextual tab, apart from helping to quickly format it, we have table style options here. So you can take your header row, you can check it on or off. And this is typically on because it helps us to understand the field name and the data type. Let's select it again. We also can show what we call a table, a total row. This is not available here. You have to insert a sum function to do the job. But the table feature uses or has a total row. That total row is very powerful. So the entire row here is what we are referring to as the total row. I can perform so many calculations here. I can do an average. I can do a count. I can do a max. I can do a min. I can do a sum. Okay, so even before you try to do some charting and then do some pivot tables and pivot charts, you can use the table itself to understand a lot about your data. Okay, so you can use the total row, and it's also available on other rows. You can show a count here. Okay, you can show a count here, and then you can show a sum here. And the beautiful thing is that it uses the subtotal function. Even though you can change the total row here, it uses the subtotal function. The subtotal function is very powerful because with the subtotal function, it helps you to apply filters. So I can apply a filter here for 1.5 liter, and then I can still get my sum. Okay, I can do just for a week. And then automatically, because of the subtotal function, I am able to quickly get insights from here. Okay, and you know, if you go to the objective domain, they are being tested, they are being requested, the ability to filter records, to sort the data as well. Now, over here, it's also easy to band the rows as part of formatting. You can band it, you can unband it. Okay, you can try to format the first column where you have your IDs. You can check. You can do same with your last column where you have your total. Okay, you can band the columns. Okay, if you band the columns and unband the rows, this is how it's going to be like. And then you can show the filter badges or the filter icons, or you can choose not to show them. So all these are available for you to use. Now, another advantage is that there are cool ways of filtering the table. And one of the dynamic tools for filtering the table is what we call the slicer. So I can insert a slicer here and then choose the brand, the size. And then I can dynamically filter, okay, and then be able to get a lot of insights in no time. So these are some of the elements that we are going to use on the dashboard, the sales and analytics dashboard, to make sure that we have a very dynamic output of our sales. Now, we can also summarize with a pivot table, but we will consider this in the Excel expert module that we'll be doing after this particular class. Now, in terms of this badges that we have here, let's talk about the filter and the filters and the sorting, okay? So let me clear these slices and then let me revert to banding the rows and unbanding that. Now look at this data that we have here now. You will see that there are badges for sorting and filtering. Okay, now look at something like Bell Aqua, where we have the brand. You can sort from A to Z, or you can sort from Z to A. And then you can even choose a custom sort. Okay, and then you can sort, do what we call a multiple sort. So I can sort by brand, add another level, sort by size, add another level, and then sort by total sales. And then with the total sales, I'll try and sort it by largest to smallest. And then this can be very insightful. Okay, and then I'll try to analyze it. Alternatively, I can go back to the multiple sorts that I have done, even from here, using the sorts. I can move a level up and give priority to it. So I can say that, first of all, sort from largest to smallest, and then give me the brand, and then give me the size. And then it will do just that. The lesson here is that anytime you are doing data analytics, which starts with sorting and filtering, you need to drive it with questions. So ask the question, and then you will know how to sort and filter the data. These are some of the basics that you need to know. Now, when we have numbers, you can do so many calculations. We can have number filters. You can do equal, that's not equal, greater than or equal to, less than, above average, the top 10. Okay, you can do all these kind of filters. So I want to just filter the top 10, and automatically that will pull out for me. Now, the advantage of doing this sorting and filtering is that we often print what we sort and filter. So let's take notes. We often print what we sort and filter. So once you're able to get things right, you can sort and filter in a way that you can print and share with other team members. Now, anytime you also filter, you see that some of the row labels will be color coded in blue, telling you that there are missing rows in there. So anytime you open your sheet, you see the row labels being blue, then you know that the filter is actually on. You can apply text filters. If it is a date like this one, you can apply date filters, and then you have a date hierarchy. Okay, so all these are things that we can explore. All you need to do is to ask the question, and then you know how to sort and filter. So on that note, we've been able to cover almost all the items and the objective domain area number C, which is managing tables and table data. So we've seen how to create Excel tables from cell ranges. I think to do just that is very simple. To create a table from a cell range, you select a cell in there and clear this. Select a cell, you go to the Insert tab, you go to the Tables group, you click on Table, you tell the Excel that your table has headers, and then you choose OK. Very simple. Let me do that again. Go to the select a cell in there. Don't worry yourself selecting everything. Just select a cell in here. Go to the table. If you choose that your table doesn't have headers, this is how it's going to appear. That's why you need to choose my table has headers. Let's do it again. Select a cell, go to Insert, go to Table, choose OK. You have a table. Very, very simple. Another method for creating a table is to go select a cell, go to the styles group, and then you format as a table directly here. And then the same thing gets done. But there are so many ways of killing a cat. There's even a keystroke shortcut to also getting it done. And that keystroke shortcut is Control T. So let me undo this. When I press Control T on the keyboard, the Create Table dialog box appears. Then I choose OK. Very simple. So if we go to our objective domain, we know how to create Excel tables from ranges. We know how to apply table styles. Okay. We know how to convert tables to cell ranges. We know how to add or remove table rows or columns, configure table style options. We also know how to insert and configure total rows. We know how to filter records and sort data from multiple columns. Very simple and straightforward. Now, the final thought I want to leave with you is that tables use structured references. Tables use structured references. And when we did the geometrics test over the weekend, we saw that that was very examinable. So on Friday, when we meet, we are going to look at the analytics and dashboard aspect of this project, and then we'll try to bring closure to it. Any question before we go?